His record is 1.1 points a game, one goal a game. Is that something that's going to kick on? Probably not.
Some questions on Twitter. So, Chuckles C85, Gav, I'll come to you on this one first. On Twitter says, given our both recent long-term managers in Howard Kendall's first stint and David Moyes suffered big blips in their first few seasons, do you think it would be prudent to stick with Sean Dyche as he inherited a complete mess? Progress is not always linear. I think it's a really good question.
Good question. It is, yeah. You could write a book about that in itself, couldn't you? Really?
Thanks for that.
It goes back, I think, something to what we were saying last week about Dyche has earned a bit of time, hasn't he, in the job? I think so. To put it out there now, there's no way I think that Dyche should get the bullet at the moment from Everton. Absolutely no way, because he's earned the right, and when one defeat in 7, blah blah blah. I think it's a really good question, and I'm struggling to answer. I don't think so. I don't think so. In that, well, I think the new owners are coming in for a start. If you wanted my, that continuity under Howard and Moyes came under the same Philip Cart's obviously same owners. Philip Cart's obviously give Moyes the vote of confidence via the Daily Express in 1983. I can't remember Moyes ever getting a vote of confidence, but certainly in 2004 we finished the season badly and we had a difficult summer. We kept with him, and I don't think there was ever a case with Moyes that he was teetering on the brink ever. Certainly not in 2004. And but it is true that what you're saying is all of a sudden you can kick on. And I suppose with Dyche, what you would say is and goes back to Paul's point, doesn't it? Really, has he shown us enough evidence in the footballing sense that he can kick on and get us up higher up the table? His record, and he's got a long-term Premier League history, hasn't he? His record is 1.1 points a game. One goal a game. Is that something that's going to kick on? Probably not. At the same time, going back, we did effectively get 48 points last season. That could that have been a launch pad? Probably, but it hasn't happened, has it? I think if you'd asked me that question in the summer, I'd probably give a different answer. But we've not seen anything this season to show that he can kick on. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean he should be given the bullet. It just effectively means that I think that a new owner will probably be looking into to probably bring a different manager in. And Dyche is on the end of his last year of his contract, isn't he? Really,
everything's kind of going against him in a
way.
Against
him, and I think a new owner, when they look back, will find it very difficult to offer him a new deal. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad job. He's done a bad job, but he hasn't. And whether he should be, he should be given the bullet now, I don't think that's the case. But it's a good question. But football's changed so much, hasn't it? Even since Moyes, 10 years it has. People are far more trigger happy, aren't they now?
Yeah,
in those days.
Even Moyes talked about in his. You said he was never really under threat, but Moyes did say there was one period. I think it was the season where we were safe with about 6 or 7 games to go, but we ended up finishing.
That was 2003-4. That's what I was talking about. Is they finished 4th from bottom, but they were never a 4th from bottom team. They were sort of mid-table.
But he said he did feel threat from that.
Yeah, and we got beat badly at Man City on the last game of the season, 5-1. And I think there was rumours that a few of the players weren't happy. And then they had the difficult summer where they sold Rooney, and then we lost the opening day to Arsenal, but pulled it back and then kicked on. It's a really good question. Really good question.
Paul Gregg, incidentally, you can watch the interview on the Royal Blue podcast with him. He did say he was actively pursuing Moyes to go.
Yeah,
like fucking right to bring up Martin O'Neill in as well. So he's actively said that.
Yeah, I've heard Martin O'Neill talk about that separately on the podcast, that there was interest from Everton at that time because Martin was at Celtic, wasn't he? And I think for family reasons he wanted to come back to England. And yeah, that's a tremendous. I hope they're all not going to be that hard, by the way.
Well, we're going to stick with that with Paul. I guess Paul, on that one, it's not. I think the Truffles question. It's not just this season; it could be open to next season as well. But there's a lot of questions here with regards to should that Sean Dyche be sacked?
Yeah.
So I'll just address one now, with your opinion, Paul. So Raymond Malone, be totally honest, should the manager be sacked now? No sitting on the fence answers.
Should the manager be sacked now? This isn't a sitting on the fence answer, but who would sack him? Like, quite simply, until the takeover's done, you can't. Well, you can sack the manager. Moshiri can sack him. He still owns the club. But we've also got the question over the director of football. If Kevin Felwell had like a 2-3 year contract and he felt empowered to be able to go to Moshiri, or if he's speaking to the Freakins, which I imagine he is, he could say, well, listen, we need to make a change now because he's confident in his own future. But there's a big question mark over Kevin Felwell as well, because he's out of contract at the end of the season. Isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm in no way sitting on the fence. If you're asking my opinion, I don't know who could sack him right now. My own opinion, not to sitting on the fence, everything I've just said on these, first 10, 15 minutes about how I feel personally about this season, I still wouldn't sack him right now because of the reasons I've just explained. The takeover needs to go through. Once that happens, if touch wood, the takeover's gone through in December and the form has dipped, that could be the time where you could say, well, listen, we've got an owner in place. There's a structure being put in place in terms of the board. You can make that decision. I just don't think we can make that decision at the moment until the takeover's gone through.
Were you looking at compensation packages and everything on you? Who's there to sign that off? No one.
It's the situation we're in as a club, isn't it?
Yeah, who's there to appoint a replacement, isn't it?
We've
covered that before. It's not as easy as what you think, but the sensible thing is just to keep it ticking over at the moment. And it's an interesting one, because when we have these conversations, people say, oh, he's only won 7 games since December, which is factually correct. So that's in 32 matches. But he's also drawn in them 32 matches, he's drawn 11 games. So 1-7 to 11. That's over 32 games. That's 32 points, which is a point a game, which is pretty much what he averages in his career. And 32 points in 32 games will keep you up. So even though we've been on a bad run since December, he's sort of maintained around his average points per game as he has done in his career. What he's got though is within that he's got a couple of good runs that have done a bit of heavy lifting, hasn't it? The five home wins at the end of last season within that helped. But I'm as I said, I don't think he should be sacked at the moment. But that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be a change in the future if results dip and a new owner comes in.
The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.